We are in Shmuel Bet Chapter 13. Let me get it on the screen for you straight away for you on Zoom. Where is it? Shmuel Bet 13. There it is. This should be on your screen very shortly. Hang on. Share. There it is. Let me know when you can see it, please. You got it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So let's just recap where we're up to. Tamar has been raped by her probable half brother, Amnon. He then rejects her. She then goes out and stays with her full brother, Avshalom. Avshalom bides his time and waits 2 full years before he takes his revenge on his half brother Amnon. And we read last week, we learned last week. Let's just quickly do what we did last week very quickly from verse 23 onwards. And it was after 2 whole years, Avshalom had the sheep shearers in Baal Chazor. Remember, we talked about that. This was a big party that they have when they shear their sheep. Everyone came. Avshalom invited the king. He was very wily and cunning. He knew the king wouldn't come, so he pressed him to send the crown prince. Who was the crown prince?
Amnon.
Amnon. So he didn't really want the king there at all. What he wanted was Amnon there. So Amnon comes along, innocently, not expecting anything because he thinks 2 years have passed. He thinks he's got away with it. And Avshalom, in verse 29, gets his servants to kill Amnon. And remember, all the king's sons were at this party, at this sheep shearing party. And we ended last week with this Pasuk 29. Avshalom's servants did to Amnon as Avshalom had commanded. In other words, they killed him. And all the king's sons arose and they rode off, each one on his mule, al pirdo, vayanusu, and they fled. So, if you remember, we spoke about mules being the transport of kings. That was what the royal transport was in those days, was mules. And we asked the question, how come that verse 30 could happen? And it came to pass while they were on the way, let's just have a look in the Hebrew, they were on the way, i.e. the king's sons, all the remaining sons, not Avshalom and not Amnon, all the other sons were on the way. V'hashmua ba'a el David, and the news came to David, Lamar, saying, Hika Avshalom et kol b'nei hamelech. This is what he calls Chinese whispers, because the news came that Avshalom had killed all the king's sons, which was not true. V'lo notar mehem echad, and not one of them was left. That wasn't true, was it? Who'd been killed?
Amnon.
And where were the rest of them?
On their mules.
Coming back on the mules.
Slowly.
They were on the mules on the way. So we asked the question right at the end of last week's shiur, chapter 13, verse 30.
Okay.
So we asked the question last week, how did they get there before the sons of the king? And the answer was that there must have been somebody with a horse, because horses are quicker than mules. The Mefarshim do ask that question because apparently horses were not common in the time of King David. We do know that they were common in the days of his son, King Solomon, because we know that he failed in his in the mitzvah, or the Averah, of not having too many horses. We know he had too many wives, he had too many horses, and he had too much money. So there were lots of horses around in Solomon's day. The Mefarshim say that there weren't that many horses in David's day. However, there must have been some because the king got to hear this news before his sons came back. And that's where we left it last week. We left it at verse 31.
31,
We're going to begin on 31. Okay.
chapter 13.
Chapter 13, verse 31. Okay. And it goes like this. Vayakom hamelech. And the king arose. The king arose from where?
His throne.
Bed. From his bed.
From his throne, I think. Yeah. I mean, it may have been his bed, actually, because was he getting old by this stage?
Yeah.
Yes, I guess he was. It may have been his bed. It may have been his bed. We do know that he was getting old. So, yeah, it may have been his bed, but he arose. What does it mean here? What's the Tanakh trying to tell us when it says the king arose?
He was angry.
No, but everything had been good with him, and he was just going about his everyday life.
Hannah says everything was good with him and he was going about his everyday life. I'm not so sure. I think maybe he was angry. I think that the Vayakom HaMelech, the king arose, I think means that this is something really significant that made the king, whatever he was doing, whether he was lying in bed, was old, or whether he was sitting on his throne, or whatever he was doing, he got up. It seems to me, I am reminded of a situation in Megillat Esther when the king arose, which would support Philip's theory that he was angry.
And went out into the garden.
Yeah, he got up and he went out into the garden, didn't he? When he heard that Mordecai wanted to kill Esther, he got up and he went into the garden.
That's
Well,
what
I didn't want to kill Esther.
Well,
Haman wanted to kill Esther.
what did I say?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mordecai.
sorry, yeah. A Freudian error there. Haman wanted to kill Esther. Thank you for pointing that out.
Johnny,
Yes, Jackie.
maybe he got up to Devon.
He got up
heard
to
his son-
Davin?
Because
Well, he
his
got
sons
up.
have been-
No, he would not have got up to Davin. Why
No.
would he have not got up to Davin, Jackie?
Because they weren't
Nobody
both
else
there.
answer this. I want Jackie to answer this. Jackie, why could he not got up to Davin?
No idea.
Think about the halacha.
Come on.
He didn't have a minion.
Right, Michael? Why couldn't he get up to Davin?
Because you're not allowed to do mitzvahs between death and burial.
Yes,
sorry.
he's an onain. He's an
sorry.
onain.
Yeah,
An
100%.
onain is somebody who a close relative has.
With a name.
But he just
What did we learn on Shabbos?
wait a second. Does he already know?
Right, wait a sec. So, what is an onain? An onain is somebody who a close relative for whom you have to sit shiva has died, but has not yet been buried. That the person, the mourner, we'll call him a mourner, the person who has lost the person, it's called an onain, and the situation is called aninut. I'm not quite sure. I think the root of the word is affliction. You are afflicted. And the idea is that you're meant to be involved. Tarud is the word. You're concerned, and your whole mind is on the burial. You've got to arrange the burial. You've got to phone the Chevra Kadisha. You've got to, make sure that everything's done right. Nowadays it's easy. You phone the Chevra Kadisha and they come. But back in the day, you had to do it all yourself. And so therefore your mind was not on your life. And so your life, as it were, was put on hold. And therefore this state of aninut was you do not daven. It's the weirdest thing. If you've ever anybody, Lo Aleinu, who has been in that situation, you don't put tefillin on, you don't, and the weird thing is you don't make a bracha on your food, and you don't bench after your food. It's a really, for those who are accustomed for all their lives to say a bracha before they put something in their mouth and to bench afterwards, it's a really weird situation that you do that without that. So therefore, Jackie, he could not have got up to Davin
I didn't mean Devon. I mean, he's had communication with the Almighty to ask him why.
Okay, all right.
Well done.
Okay. That's a fair wheedling out of your predicament. Okay. Vayokom Amelech, and the king arose. Vayikra et begadav, and he tore his garment. Now we still do that, don't we?
Morning.
That's a sign of mourning. If again, somebody who loses a close relative, what you do is you tear your garment. It's called kriya. Kriya, mean it not kriya as with an aleph, which would be to call. Kriya with an ayin means to tear. Kriyat yamsuf, right? The splitting of the sea, of the Reed Sea. So when a person dies, his close relatives, before the burial, you say the bracha of Dayan Ha'emet with Shem Malchut. So you say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Dayan Ha'emet. We bless Hashem who is Dayan,
The judge
a judge, Ha'emet,
of the
Of
truth.
life.
Emet,
Of truth.
Jackie, of truth.
Of truth.
He's a truthful judge. In other words, we accept upon ourselves the suffering, and we accept that this is a God's will. And by saying Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, when you hear that somebody's died, what you're saying is we don't understand, we don't know, but we accept HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ways are just. He is a Dayan Emet, he is a judge of truth, a truthful judge, and we accept his decisions with what's the word? With faith. With faith. We don't. When we hear somebody has died, we say Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. However, if we are a close relative, before the burial, we say the whole bracha using Hashem's name. Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam. Blessed are you, our God, King of the universe. Dayan Ha'emet. We use God's name because that's the time when we feel it the most, because we are the suffering relative, as it were. We also do kriya. 1 second, Michael. Just finish this thought. We do kriya. We tear our garments. We have this many times in the Torah where the tearing the garments is a sign of mourning. We have it many times. Moshe and Aaron tear their garments on a regular basis when tragedies occur. And the Egel HaZahav, the golden calf, etc., etc. It's a sign of mourning. Yes, Michael, nice and loud, please.
Not trying to make a spoiler, but do we find out why who and why this person said everybody was killed, all the brothers were killed?
No, we don't. I think it was just one of those Chinese whisper things, that the rumor was given wrongly. But you will see in the next pasuk, actually, the very next pasuk, why we are told that he said that. We don't know why he said it. We don't know the reason why this person thought that everybody had been killed. But we are told in the next pasuk. Well, you will see in the next pasuk why Tanakh sees fit to tell us that that's what he said. Okay?
So there's nobody vindictive like Doeg around trying to cause trouble.
It doesn't seem that way. No, it doesn't seem that way. It seems that this was a genuine message that was given to the king. But you'll see in the next pasuk in 32, our friend Yonadav, right? Yonadav, who can remember where Yonadav came in?
He instigated the rape.
He what?
He instigated the rape.
Oh, I think that's a bit harsh. He instigated the rape. I know what you mean, Jackie, but I think that's a bit harsh. Anybody like to be a little bit more meduyak, a little bit more exact?
He gave Amnon advice for his love sickness.
Yes, I think that's a better description.
I think a pimp.
Hannah says he gave Amnon advice on his love sickness. I think it would be harsh to say, Jackie, that he told him to rape. He told Amnon to rape Tamar. He certainly, I will agree with you. He certainly engineered a situation where Amnon was able to rape Tamar, and therefore you could certainly say that he was an accessory to the fact. However, I think that it would be harsh to say that he told Amnon to rape Tamar. But I didn't know what you meant. But you have to be a little bit more precise. Okay.
In retrospect. In
That is a yellow card. Philip's on a yellow card, everyone. One more, and he's on a red. Okay, that was a close to being a straight red. Right.
He never listened to the Tehillim of Shabbat, did he?
Yonadav advised Amnon to be alone with Tamar, or did he just advise him to get her making food?
All right. Either way, it was clear that his reasoning and the point of his advice was to get Amnon alone with Tamar. The Mefarshim actually do say that Yonadav, and you'll see why I say that in a minute, Yonadav did not expect Amnon to rape Tamar. The Mefarshim say that Yonadav expected Amnon to woo Tamar, right? In a pleasant way, I guess. His advice was in order to get them to make the shidduch, if you like, to make the shidduch, but not to the Mefarshim say that Yonadav was shocked when Amnon did. No, good question. David is here. David Brazil is here. Joined our shiur for the first time, and he asked a very pertinent question, which we have. I'll send you some recordings when we discuss this, because we've discussed this at great length. He asked a very pertinent question, which we have discussed, and that is, can you marry your half-sister? And we know, don't we, that there is a whole Gemara that asks that question. Very good, David. Asks that question, and it turns itself into what I call halachic acrobatics in order to show that they weren't actually half-sisters. They half sister and brother, half siblings. They, according to that opinion, they weren't actually sister and brother. But on the face of it, they certainly were. And you are quite right to ask that question. Excellent. Right. So Yonadav, our friend Yonadav, comes back into the picture here now, which we will see in a moment. We've not quite finished verse 31 yet. So Vayakom Amelech, the king got up, Vayikra et begadav, he tore his garment because he's in Avelut. He's in Aninut, as it were. All of his sons have been killed, as far as he knows. All of them. Vayishkav arza, and he lay on the ground. Why did he do that?
Mourning.
He's in Shiva.
Sign of mourning. What do we do in a Shiva? A lot of this is we do in a Shiva. We can see very clearly. Right?
We sit on little stools.
We sit on little stools. But really, where should we be sitting, Jackie?
On the ground.
On the ground. We sit on low stools because our generation are too soft to sit on the floor, right? So we have these little these stools. As some of you may know, I've just come back from a very rapid visit to Johannesburg for a levaya of my Chatenister. Unfortunately passed away very suddenly, and I went to Johannesburg. She had a brother who's sitting Shiva now, and not a very well man, and he couldn't sit even on the low chairs. He was not able to do so. He had very great difficulty sitting on chair. Her husband, who was sitting Shiva, did sit on the low chairs, but had great difficulty getting up. He had to be schlepped up by, somebody else. So, the proper way of doing it is to sit on the ground. And he has Vayishkavar, so he's laying on the ground. I have this picture in my head of David HaMelech hearing this terrible news. I mean, lo aleinu, no, it should never happen. As somebody hears that all his children have been murdered, he tears his clothes. He lies on the ground. I have this picture of David HaMelech lying on the ground, banging his fists on the ground. It's a terrible picture here. I think Tanakh is giving us this picture of David HaMelech in a terrible state. Remember, everybody, I just want to remind you that stories that we are reading now in Tanakh come hot on the heels of David HaMelech's great nefilah, his great failing and falling with the sin of Bathsheba. Everything comes back to this sin of Bathsheba, which, of course, is why, as you know, I'm not a great fan of the Gemara that says, if anyone that says that David HaMelech sinned is mistaken. Of course, he sinned. And these stories that are we
Chayav Misa.
that we I just have to reply to that, sorry. These stories that we're reading now are the punishment of David HaMelech. We read what his punishment was going to be. Death was not going to leave his house. That's what it said. And we're seeing this here. David HaMelech knew all of this, and he hears that all his children have been killed. What's his first thought?
My fault.
By himself.
This is all on me.
My fault.
It's all my fault. One moment of lust, and look what I brought upon my family. One mistake, one terrible mistake. Look what I brought on my family. All my children have been killed. I mean, it's impossible for us to consider how that must feel. Vayakom HaMelech vayikra et begadav vayishkav arza. He got up, he tore his clothes, and he lay on the ground. That almost doesn't do it justice. We have to stop and think of what is going on here. And if you are David HaMelech's servants and you see the king in this terrible state, what are you going to do?
Join in.
You're going to join in. You're going to see, either you're going to join in because, that's expected of you, you're his servant, or you're going to join in because you're a human being and you see this person in such terrible grief. I mean, Lo Aleinu, we've all seen it, these terrible scenes of, you see on TV when a parent is burying a child. It's horrendous. We don't need to go there. And so we see the pasuk tells us exactly what happens, that his servants, Mavadav Nitzavim, the servants stood Kru'ei begadim, with their clothes torn. They also all tear their clothes. So now our friend Yonadav comes back into the picture. Vaya'an Yonadav, we're on verse 32 now. Vaya'an Yonadav ben Shim'a Achi David. Yonadav gets his full title here. He is the nephew of David. We knew that already from the beginning of the chapter. Why do we need to be told that again? Why do we need to be told that Yonadav was the nephew of David? We already know that from verse 2 or something? Verse 5.
Maybe there's a time.
Hang on a minute. Do we know that from verse 5? Or we don't know it from verse 5? No, we don't know it from verse 5, actually.
No, we didn't.
Oh, we know it from verse 3. Yeah, we do know it. We know it from verse 3. No, we know it from verse 3. Yeah, okay, there's a time lapse, that's true. But we're reading Tanakh. It's only a few psukim up the pasuk. Why do we need to be told in verse 32 that Yonadav is the nephew of David? What's it telling us? What's the pasuk telling us? Why do
he potentially moved up the inheritance ladder because there was only one son left, and he was most probably then almost in line to take over from the king if the last brother died.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that. That's interesting, Michael. You crafty fellow. Yeah, okay, that's an interesting thought. And Michael said that maybe Yonadav thought he's now right up the ladder of in line for the throne. The king has no sons left. And I'll tell you why you're wrong, Michael, but it's a great idea. He's got no sons left, and therefore he thinks, he's the nephew of the king. Maybe his father, Shim'a, that's David. Remember, David was the youngest, and David was old. Very likely Shim'a is dead because David is the youngest of the brothers, and so therefore he's got no sons left. Maybe Yonadav thought he's in for the Malchus here.
No, he'd be second in line, not first in line.
What?
He'd be second in line because one brother is still left, obviously.
Yeah, Avshalom's still, but Avshalom's done for. Avshalom is, Yonadav knows that Avshalom is a dead man walking because Avshalom has killed Amnon. who we know, by the way, was David's eldest and favorite son. So Yonadav, you could still be right at this point. I'll tell you why you're not right in a minute. But you could still be right at this point, Michael, because Avshalom's a dead man walking.
But he's David's son. He's David's son, Avshalom, no?
Yeah, but he's a dead man walking. He's killed his
father's going to kill him.
Yeah.
His father's going to kill him.
You wait and see. Yeah.
I know what happened
okay.
to Avshalom.
So Shimei is probably dead. And if Yonadav is the oldest son of Shimei, could well be that he is, in line or close to being in line for the throne. Before I tell you why I think you're wrong, 1 second, Jackie, I'm going to go to Hannah first and then Jackie. And if neither of you have told what I'm going to say, I'll say what I'm going to say. Go on, Hannah. Why is he wrong?
Because, well, first of all, I've read on.
Okay, yeah, okay. So Hannah's read on, which Michael never reads on because he doesn't like spoilers. So go on. Well, okay, apart from not reading on, why is it?
You covered it when you said that Avshalom's a dead man walking. But what keeps coming into my mind is David's reaction when Bathsheba's first baby died.
Okay. We're coming to that. Okay. Hannah's raised a point, which is, a red herring at this point. She's good at those, right? We're going to put that red herring in the fridge. No, we go off if we put it in the cupboard. We'll put it in the fridge, right? And we'll come back to it. What Hannah said, just in case you didn't hear, Hannah said what comes to her mind is the contrast between David's reaction here and his reaction when the first child of Bathsheba, that baby, the baby of Bathsheba, dies. We will come back to that contrast in due course. Possibly not today, or probably not today, but we will come back to it. Okay, Jackie, why is Michael not right?
Because apparently Jonadab somehow knew, he had the news before David, that the sons were all coming back. Someone had told him.
Yeah. So that's what Hannah was alluding to because she's read on, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Michael, if you were not so unkeen on spoilers and you had read on the very next pasuk, you would know that your theory, much as I like it very much, is not correct. Because verse 33 says, and Yonadav, 32, I beg your pardon. Yonadav, the son of David's brother Shimei, answered and said, let not my Lord, let's do it in the Hebrew first. Vayomar, and he said, Al Yomar Adoni Eit Kol Hana'arim B'nei HaMelech Heimitu. Let not my Lord say that they've killed all the young men. Ki Amnon Levado mate. Only Amnon is dead. Ki Alpi Avshalom Haita Shuma Miyom Anoto et Tamar Achoto. Because only Amnon alone is dead, for by the mouth of Avshalom this had been arranged from the day he forced Tamar, his sister, from the day he raped his sister, which was how long ago?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years. So Yonadav says, hang on a minute, David, don't be so upset. Only Amnon is dead. Not all the king's children are dead. And by the way, you should know, Amnon himself was a dead man walking for the last 2 years. Avshalom has been plotting this for 2 years from the day that he raped his sister Tamar. Amnon was a dead man walking. Avshalom was just biding his time. Yonadav, now how did Yonadav know that?
Because he says that Avshalom said it out loud.
Okay.
He was going
Hold it, but he as a close relative, wouldn't he have been at the party and ridden back on a horse rather than a mule?
Okay, maybe this was Yonadav. Maybe it was, Yonadav's arrived. No, he's royalty. He's on a mule. He's royalty. So he now arrives after the horseman has told David the wrong story. And he says, no, David, King David, you've got the wrong end of the stick. They're not all dead. Only Amnon is dead. Everyone else has run away. And by the way, you should know that Amnon was a dead man walking for the last 2 years. How did Avshalom know that, Amnon was a dead man walking for the last 2 years?
Well, he was very friendly with Amnon.
Yes, exactly.
He knew what had
Exactly,
gone on.
Michael. Let's go straight up the page to verse 3. Ula Amnon Rea Ushmo Yonadav. When we're first introduced to Yonadav, how are we introduced to him? Apart from we know that he's the nephew of David. Rea.
Why?
Rea. What is Rea?
A friend.
A friend. Reim ha'ahuvim. Yeah, in the Sheva Brachas. Reim ha'ahuvim. Love, beloved friends. Rea is a friend. He was Avshalom's best mate, right? So, of course, Avshalom confided in Yonadav 2 years ago on the day that this happened. He will have said to Yonadav, can you believe what that fellow, that terrible Amnon has done to my bastard, has done to my sister? Right? Just you watch. I'll get him. He is a dead man walking. So it makes perfect sense that it would be, back to verse 32, it would make perfect sense that Yonadav
He was a very
be
close friend of Amnon as well.
Why do you think he's a friend of Amnon?
Because he gave him all the advice to.
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, right. Oh, I beg your pardon. Yeah. You're right. He's a friend of Amnon. He's a friend of Amnon. So actually, I'm talking rubbish, aren't I? If he's a friend of, yeah, I'm talking rubbish.
No, but he said,
Hang on a sec. Hang on. I need to get this straight in my head. That's nonsense what I've just said. Because if he is the friend of Amnon, then Avshalom is not going to say to Yonadav, I'm going to get Amnon, because he knows that he'll go back to Amnon and warn him. So I've just told you a whole load of rubbish there. So row back. Thank you for that, Michael.
Sorry.
No, you're absolutely right to point out.
Johnny, can I point something out?
Yes.
In verse 31, where it said the king arose and tore his clothes, if he was in deep mourning, he didn't put ashes on his head like all the other mourners that we read about.
We don't know that. We're just not told that he didn't. He did. Maybe he's not got any ashes right there. This is his first reaction. He tears his clothes, lies on the ground. No doubt later on he'll put ashes on his head at some point. Don't think you can bring a proof from something that isn't there necessarily. Let me just go back to Yonadav now, because I've got myself in a pickle. One second. I need to get my head straight on this. Yonadav is Amnon's friend, and so therefore, why would he be the one that is? Why would he be the one that is telling King David that Amnon was a dead man walking due to Avshalom? I would suggest this, and this may be what the Mephoroshim were getting at when they said that Yonadav was horrified. Remember, we said a few minutes ago, Yonadav was horrified that Amnon raped Tamar. That was not his intention, that Amnon should rape Tamar. His intention was that he should woo her and what have you. So the Mephoroshim say that Yonadav was not happy about that. Could it be that from that moment on, his friendship with Amnon was severed, and instead he became closer to Avshalom? Is that possible, everyone? Michael's not entirely happy with that, but not...
Possibility.
Possibility. What does anybody else think about that possible theory?
Possible.
No, Jackie, what do you think about that?
No, I don't think so. I
didn't think you would.
I think Yonadav was a very cunning guy, and he thought to himself, I can see what's going to happen. He's going to get his revenge because he thinks like I think, and he will eventually get his revenge.
Right, so it was a crafty fellow, and he just saying that, listen, I knew, but he doesn't say that. Look at the pasuk, ki al pi Avshalom. It's almost like he's heard it from the mouth of Avshalom. So, I mean, yeah, your theory works, but how do we then explain al pi Avshalom? 1 second, Hannah. David Marks, you've been very quiet today. What have you got to say about this?
No, nothing to add.
Nothing to add. Okay, Hannah.
I think that when we go back to the rape, Tamar comes out of the room and she puts ashes on her head and tears her clothes, and she makes it very well known to everybody that she's been raped. I think that, I mean, what's his name?
Avshalom.
No,
Amnon. Yonadav.
Yonadav. Yonadav was out there with everybody and he heard. And he also heard when Avshalom found out that Avshalom, in a burst of rage probably, said, I'm going to kill him.
Right. So okay. So
I'm going to kill him.
Hannah's theory.
He meant it.
Hannah's theory is basically that Yonadav was in earshot when Avshalom heard what had gone on, and quite understandably, Avshalom said, oh, "Kill that bastard!" Right?
Oh, kill him.
And Yonadav,
My brother.
Yonadav heard it.
He didn't. He said, I'll kill Amnon.
Okay.
Amnon was his brother.
But he didn't say he was his brother.
No.
He didn't say it, but we know that he was his brother.
Yeah, so why would he say that? Anyway, so he said what he said. He made it clear that he was going to kill Amnon, and Yonadav heard it. This is Hannah's theory. I like it. I like it. I like it. Hannah says Yonadav happened to hear it, but what do we know about Yonadav?
He said he was sly.
Yes, he's That's your second yellow card. Off you go. Right?
I'm going to
So we know that he's a sly, cunning guy. He's heard 2 years ago, he's heard that Avshalom is going to kill Amnon, and he said nothing until right now. That fits in very nicely with what we know about Yonadav's character. Yonadav was a cunning fellow. He's heard it 2 years ago. And now is the time when he says to David, you should know, by the way, this was an inevitability. From the moment that Amnon raped Tamar, it was inevitable that Avshalom was gonna kill him, because I heard it from his own mouth. Al pi Avshalom. Very good.
But he doesn't say. But how would he not know whether Absalom decided as a matter of pique that kill all the other brothers as well?
He was there. He was at the sheep shearing.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, he was there. Okay, so let's just do verse 33 before we finish. V'ata, and now this is still Yonadav speaking. V'ata al yasem Adoni Amelech el libo davar. Let not my lord the king put this to his heart. In other words, let it not upset you so much. Lemor, to say, Kol b'nei hamelech metu, that all the king's children are dead. Amnon levado mate. Oh, and he repeats this. He repeats it. He says it again. He's already said that in verse 32. Why is he saying it again? Why is he saying it again?
To reiterate it.
To reiterate it. Why does he need to reiterate it?
Because David's upset.
Because David is in a state of complete upset. He's not listening. He doesn't. You know, when you're in that situation, chas v'sholom, when you've heard such terrible news, you can't take it in. Yonadav is saying, "Did you hear what I said, King David? They're not all dead. Only Amnon. That's bad enough, especially since he was his favorite." Okay, we're going to stop there, but we'll just give you a little taster. Michael, you don't want to listen to this if you don't put your fingers in your ears, right? Vayivrach Avshalom. Avshalom flees. He runs away. Why is he running away?
He knows he's going to get killed.
Because he knows that David's favorite son was Amnon, and he knows that David is not going to be kindly disposed to Avshalom. Without giving you any spoilers, it might not be as it seems. You will have to wait, Bezrat Hashem, till next week to find out what's going on. What day next week? Probably Sunday. And we will be back to Sunday. I only did it on Monday this week because Colin was away and I was away yesterday, and it sort of fitted in. Bezrat Hashem will be back to Sunday next week, all being well, when we will see why Avshalom did a bunk. Yeah. Now, any questions before we go?
I presume that all the sons
on
had
Zoom
kids
first
at
of all.
this time.
Yes, Michael.
I assume that all the sons had kids at this time because they were older guys, so they must have been married with children.
Oh, that would be another answer to your question why Yonadav was not next in line. It would be the grandsons, not the nephew. So there you go. That's a good point. Yes. Anyone else on Zoom with a question?
Yes, in the 2 years that followed between the rape of his daughter, did David never ever question Amnon and say, why did you do it? Or did he never have any feeling?
Very good question, Jackie. Let's answer that question right at the beginning of next week's shiur, because it's a very good question, and the Mefarshim do actually talk about this, and they compare it to the situation with Yaakov and Dinah. I haven't got time to answer the question now, but I will be listening to this before when I prepare for next week's shiur. So we'll start, Bezrat Hashem, with the answer to Jackie's question.
Thank you.
The question was, do we find in the 2 years between the rape of Amnon and here, do we find that David HaMelech says anything to Amnon, does anything about it?
To Avshalom.
To Amnon.
Amnon's dead.
Not until the 2 years. We're talking about in the 2 year period. Okay. Very good, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. We'll see you all next week for the shiur.
I'll be back later.
The next
11 o'clock.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, everyone. Bye-bye.
A bit late. Bye.